personally, I have the theory, I suppose, that the difference between a positive and a negative experience is am I a better person at the end of it? And so taking that theory into my life, getting blown up was a positive experience.
Hey guys, welcome to the Fireside Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Turkington, and on the show today we've got Mark Direen. But before we get into that, I'd just like to give a quick shout out to our sponsors at Dark Horse Coffee. Thanks very much for supporting the show. Mark's an ex-Special Air Service operator in Australia. He's also an adventurer and he's an author as well, so he's got a really interesting background there. And I'm looking forward to diving into it today with him. So Mark, thanks heaps for coming on the show, man.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
All good. So obviously you spend a lot of time in the Special Forces world and everything that goes with that. But what's the biggest thing that being a part of that type of environment taught you about human nature?
Oh, that's a big question.
Yeah, we like to start strong,
Getting
man.
right in there.
Like to start
Human
strong.
nature, I suppose, ultimately, in a lot of ways, I believe a lot in good values and good principles and trying to follow those. But as far as human nature goes, that's really hard because I think ultimately it's human nature to take care of ourselves and our most immediate loved ones, so to speak. So when it comes to my career, there's a lot of service to my country and things like that. That's actually not that easy to do, I don't think, for humans. Traveling around the world a lot, going to lots of third world nations and things like that. Sort of a lot of military people will say this, I suppose, but it shows us how fortunate we are here at home in countries like New Zealand and Australia.
Yeah.
But it's not really the norm, I don't think. Nearly everywhere around the world, people are a lot more family focused and survival of their family is a lot harder than it is at home. So yeah, human nature, it's not a question I delve into a lot, but that's probably my takeaway there. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree as well. Like I've always found that when I've gone overseas for work or whatever reason, when I come home to New Zealand, I'm always just so grateful. It's like, shit, we've got it good here, and like even when you've been in a place where you haven't heard a Kiwi accent for 4 6 weeks, whatever it might be, and you get back on an Air New Zealand plane and you hear that Kiwi accent again, you're like, oh, thank God I've missed that shit.
Yeah. And once your family's sort of a bit more taken care of, it gives humans more capacity to give service to their broader communities, I suppose. But a recent example in the last few years was towards the end of COVID, the Australian government was trying to help the PNG government, I suppose, take care of that coronavirus that was there and was trying to show them, the measures that we'd implemented in Australia. You need to get people to not socialise as much, and the everyday person in PNG really didn't care. It was more important to them was, where am I getting today's water from?
Yeah.
I'm not staying home and locking down. I've got to walk to get water to bring it home. So it's kind of like those human priorities in a lot of places. Meeting those is human nature and taking care of the people that you love the most.
Yeah. You touched on principles and values there briefly, when I landed you with the human nature question. What types of principles and values have stuck out to you over time as being important?
I mean, all of that most people would say, well, that's good, honest and honourable and things like that. But one that some that I do like, probably off the back of my military service, is that ability to serve others, having the opportunity to do it and taking that opportunity, whether you're military or whether you're emergency services or whether you're a school teacher or something like that. In a lot of ways, people are choosing not to pursue, a life trying to acquire wealth or something like that. And they're great values and great principles to have. I'm gonna be a school teacher and I'm gonna work in a primary school and teach the next generation. Like that's a great a value to have. And those forms of service, they're good. But I love to talk a lot about core human skills that we have, and some of those overlap a bit with values and principles. whether it's humility or a sense of humor or a bit of, mental toughness or things like that.
Yeah.
They're good things as well.
Yeah. My wife's a primary school teacher, and honestly, I've got so much respect for the man. Like,
Yeah.
I don't, is it a weird thing that military people are drawn to primary school teachers? Because a lot of mil guys that I know are married to a primary school teacher. And I don't know whether it's that sense of servitude or whatever it might be. Like, maybe we're just that way inclined and we're drawn to
Yeah.
people that are that way inclined. Like, what do you think about that?
Yeah, maybe just subconsciously. I mean, most people don't join. I don't believe most people join the military to serve,
Mm.
but it's just inside the military. Like we probably join for adventure. I know I did, or you stay because of the mateship and things like that. But deep down inside, whether you're thinking about it or not, you feel good that you're doing something worthwhile for other people. And so then you like other people, I suppose, that do the same thing. Yeah, we get on well with you know emergency services or whatever because they're working for the greater good.
Yeah, I think so. And there's something to be said about doing things or being a part of something that's bigger than yourself, where you realize, shit, the scale of this problem's pretty big and I'm a small part of it, but what
Yep,
what we do matters and feeds into the bigger mission or the good. I think there's something
yep.
really powerful about that.
And it's not about blindly doing what everyone else wants. It's more about doing what you believe is right for everyone.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And we mentioned it a little bit before we hit record, and I know you've spoken to it a little bit around you came a cropper with an IED. That's a terrible way to describe it, but that happened to you, which is a terrible thing. What does that teach someone, Mark? Literally facing death like that. What does that teach you?
I didn't really learn it at the time. I don't think it wasn't until quite a few years later that I spent time unpacking things I did well and things I could have done better. But I think the biggest lesson that it taught me is probably around mindset and perspective, because you could come away and go, well, I've been injured, I've been banjoed, I'm carrying a few injuries now. Things aren't going well. Or you could sort of come away a little bit more determined. I felt at the time I'd let my mates down. So I was pretty determined to get back in the game and get back out there and not let them down again, I suppose.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, you're faced with mortality, as lots of people are, and whether it's in the military or whether it's a car crash or whether it's some moment in life where you sort of go, holy cow, that could have been the end. You sort of maybe get a little bit better at taking opportunities, seeing those decision points in life where you can decide not to do something or you can decide to give something a go. You're probably, I think, with the right perspective and mindset, you're probably more likely to give those opportunities a go, whether they succeed or not, but not live with the regret of not even trying.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
A mutual friend of ours, obviously James, spoke about that, not wanting to let his mates down. I asked him something similar. I was like, SA selection's hard, man, and the operations you guys have to go on are brutal, is the only way I can think to describe it. What keeps you going during times like that? And that's exactly what he said. Words to that effect is, I just didn't want to let my mates down. Like, why is that the case in those communities? And how does somebody go about building something like that in a civilian setting, in their workplace? That degree of loyalty. What are your thoughts? What are you?
It's almost understated, I think, in the military a lot. Like, it's the one thing that will get someone to go and do something that could get them killed, is
Yeah,
that um, is that sense of not letting your mates down, just doing the best job you can because everyone else around you's trying to do the best job they can, and you want to be a part of this amazing community connection, I suppose, to get it and try and take it into a civilian setting, whatever the industry might be or anything like that. You've got to build connection. You've got to put people over profits, and you just got to build that community where someone's happy to volunteer for someone else in that team when they get nothing out of it, I suppose. So when people are all happy to serve each other within the team is going to prosper. You're going to build connection. People are going to not want to let their friends down, I suppose. Yeah, I mean, it's at its ultimate level in the military when you think about, especially in all those combat calls, it doesn't matter which one it is, You've got someone that's willing to risk their life, and in some instances run to their death to protect the team. Like, you need that. When diplomacy has broken down to the point where we're now fighting, you need people that are willing to protect each other in that environment. Mm.
Yeah. And it's amazing, how we go about starting to do that, talking to the military context here, where we all come from different services, but there are a lot of real big similarities around you'll go and do a recruit course of some description and you're living in the close confines with these people for months, right? Like living out
Yep.
of each other's pockets. You're reliant on each other for everything. There's lots of pressure, lots of stress. There's a lot of shared suffering as well, but that is an incredible way to build a cohort when it's done well, eh? Like when it's well managed, when the risks are controlled effectively, but not too much, that bonds a group of people together like nothing else.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially in training, you don't want to hurt anyone,
Mm,
but you can still make a bit of hardship that leads to um, satisfaction of a job well done when it wasn't easy.
mm,
And you talk about recruit training in the military. I went through recruit training in Australia in 1993, and I was in Queensland um, hosting a photographic exhibition just recently. And a guy I went to recruit training with messaged me and said, "Oh, you in Maroochydore? I'll come and say good day." And so he just came. I hadn't seen him since 1993. We were in the same room, but there was 4 people in each room. We sat and had a couple of beers and had an awesome catch up, like we'd, been best friends the whole time. Like, it's amazing, exactly like you say, that bond that the military can build in such a short amount of time.
mm.
It's pretty impressive.
I think as well, it's almost like a knowing and a mutual respect, eh? Like what that person's had to go through and all of those types of things. Yeah, it's almost like an unwritten thing, isn't it? It's like,
Yep.
yeah, yeah, man, it's a nod to you. I know you've had to do some tough shit, and guess what? You prospered out the other side, and kudos to you for that.
Yeah,
Mm.
absolutely.
Um, I'm keen around resilience. Heaps of people talk about resilience, and special forces guys and girls are an amazing proponent of resilience. But what does that actually look like to you, Mark? What is resilience, and what would that look like practically applied?
Yep. I tend to put I'm not a big fan of the word resilience. It's a bit broad and it's a bit fluffy, but I like the term of physical and mental toughness. And I think you go to the gym to train your muscles, to get fitter, to be stronger so that you can do harder things. And your mind, in a lot of ways, is not too different. Got to do more difficult things to improve the strength of it. But in saying that, we come unstuck a lot of the time where we just try, dump people in the deep end and think that they can do something really hard and they'll be stronger at the end of it. And if you injure people, they won't be. So I'm a big believer in that gradual progression of doing harder and harder and harder things, overcoming more and more difficult obstacles. I
Mm,
say to people, I was pretty fortunate in my military career in the fact that I did join in the early 90s. And so I didn't get sent to war, 12 months in. I got to do 4 years of really top quality training with some great instructors. And then when I started doing deployments, my first one to the Sydney Olympic Games and then East Timor and then early Afghan right through to Afghan in 2013 on military deployments, they were less dangerous, the earlier ones I did, and they were less complex. And so as I went through my career, the danger levels increased, the complexity increased, and the difficulty of everything increased. So that was a great way to build my own mental toughness, I suppose,
mm.
to build my own resilience in that environment and keep functioning.
Hey, what's up, guys? Just a quick note to say, hopefully you're enjoying the show. If you are, feel free to like and subscribe, and you can share it with your mates. You can also find us at LinkedIn and on Facebook, or check us out at www.aegisleadership.co.nz. Cool, that's all from me. Let's get back to the show.
To a high level as I did it.
So, do you think you were quite lucky just through timing where you got like a really good almost hibernation phase where you could get lots of good training, get your mindset right, And then the challenges that you got were sort of a little bit simpler at the start, but then they got trickier and trickier as time went on. Probably set you up for success later in the piece, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I think it did set me up well. I mean, I saw a lot of younger blokes join the military in the mid 2000s, and then they're in Afghanistan within sort of 18 months, and they were
Mm.
getting shot at and blown up, doing really hard jobs, seeing really horrific things. That would have, I think personally, that would have been a lot harder to, it would have been a lot bigger hurdle than that gradual progression. But you can take that gradual progression theory into everyday life. It doesn't have to be the military. I mean, if you want to run a marathon, and I mean, you don't just get out the door and knock out your first 50 clicker tomorrow. You build up to it. So that can be the same as if you want to be adaptable, if you want to overcome hurdles in business, well, you're better off starting with a few smaller ones than crisis straight off the bat.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's a good one for leaders to keep in mind as well, is like you need to challenge your people. Absolutely. That's the way that they learn to stand on their own 2 feet. But make the challenges manageable, like challenging enough so it's going to push them, but not so challenging that they're going to be completely overwhelmed and be like, fuck this, I'm not doing this, or I'm not going to do this in the future, and like completely shatter their confidence. It's wants to be right on that edge of that area of proximal development, eh? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in the military, it might have been in my early days, my section commander going, "Hey, you're ready to be the scout now," and me going, "Oh, I'm not sure. I only just got here. I'm not sure I'm ready to be the scout yet." Or you're ready to be the 2IC, Nate. You're ready to be the team commander, and a mentor keeping an eye on you while you're sort of out of your depth a little bit. You need that challenge. You need that friction,
Mm,
and it's the same in the civilian world, whether it's business, whether it's learning a new skill or something like that. You want to sort of push the boundaries as
yeah.
safely as you can.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm interested to talk to you about pressure. You faced a lot of it. What did you see in the people that were able to deal with pressure really effectively and the people that fell to pieces, for lack of a better term? Like, what was that difference that you saw in the people that could really deal with it well?
Yeah, I think having thought about the problem, I think that what if thinking we get taught in the military, the actions on, that is one of the best things you can do under pressure. I
Mm,
suppose that you've got a reference point to go back to. I've taught safety to people in that sort of travel environment or that high threat environment. And one of the things that we teach them there is that if you've thought about it at some point, then you're giving your brain somewhere to go when faced with that problem under pressure, especially if there's your own safeties at risk.
mm,
But yeah, some of that actions on thinking. So brainstorming or having someone come in and um, you know play the bad guy when it comes to some of the projects that you might be doing, trying to predict some of the pressures you're going to be put under. It's probably one of the best things you can do. But then, as we said, whether it's you know a little bit of friction in your everyday job in life, getting gaining the ability to be able to work in an environment that's got a little bit of pressure, or learning how to adapt, reduce the risk, reduce the pressure, but still achieve beyond what you were trying to do. I mean, there's a lot you can do there, but yeah, that sort of
mm.
action, I suppose that I think probably a really simple bit of advice is to take the time to sit and plan and prepare and actions on for when you're going to be in that environment that could have high pressure in it or could have some pressure in it is probably one of the
Yeah,
better things you can do. Rehearse your skills, whatever they might be.
yeah. Can you talk to that a little bit, Mark? Like in a hypothetical situation, what that might look like? So, let's say you were going to step out on a military task, for example, it's pretty high threat. What would that what if sequence or process look like for you and your team before you're going to go and get after something like that? Like, can you sort
Yeah,
of you talk to it at the tactical level type deal, what it might look like?
whether you're in a military sense or whether you're in sort of a security safety
Yeah, perfect.
sense, there are environments where you have an adversary who's trying to outsmart you. So they're adapting and they're changing, and the laws of the environment won't apply because someone is going to change the laws. So in a general safety sense, you can predict gravity, you can predict electricity, you can predict all these dangers that might affect you. You can't protect someone trying to hurt you. And so and someone adapting to what you're doing. So you can't just go into a safety environment. You can't just go into that military environment going, well, they're trying to shoot me. I'll wear body armor. And then if they shoot me, I'll be fine. Doesn't work like that because they'll adapt. They'll put a bomb in the road and negate the body armor. And so what we need to do is become more adaptive. How do we do that? Well, we need to have capacity to make decisions as we move along. And the way we build capacity to have decision-making ability is removing some of the things out of our minds that we have to think about in the moment. So in the military, at a very basic level, we drill and practice how to use our firearms to defend ourselves. And so if my firearm stops firing for whatever reason, it just has a stoppage and I run out of ammunition, I don't want to have to think about how to fix that problem. I want it to be automatic, to happen in the moment, whether I'm in fear of my life coming to an end or not. I just want to instinctively be able to do that without thinking about it. So that frees up brain capacity, I suppose, to think about the bigger problem, the enemy's maneuvering from where they were to somewhere else to take me out. And so by thinking about actions on before I get into that high stress environment gives you somewhere to go, gives you something to do, because we never want to do nothing. Like doing the wrong thing is probably worse than doing nothing in that environment. And so we train with our tools so that we can operate them with minimal thought, and we come up with plans. If they do this, I'll do this. And so it gives us, better chance of doing the right thing when you're in that high stress, dangerous environment. Does that answer the question? It's
Yeah,
pretty
it
broad.
does. So essentially, no, it makes perfect sense. So you guys are trying to war game or basically role play as much as you possibly can ahead of time, which means you're not trying to make those decisions on the fly. And using something like a weapon, for example, that just becomes muscle memory. So you don't need to dedicate any cognitive bandwidth to that. That just happens. Where you're going and what you're doing just happens. Your body's doing it. You already know exactly what's going on. So no decision-making power is required for that. And you can just keep that decision-making power wide open to react to what's in front of you, because the plan's not going to survive first contact that gets thrown around all the time. So you need to have as much of your brain online as possible to play the cards that are in front of you. And all the basics should just be on autopilot, essentially, is what I took out of that.
Yep. And it works well within a team environment as well. If you understand your SOPs and everyone in the team understand the SOPs, when the team's under pressure, the team's going to perform better as well.
And when you were in that, Mark, and there's bullets flying or whatever, like things are going down and they're serious, and you started to feel that tension, that heat in your face or whatever those feelings are for you when that crunch really comes on, did you have tools that you used to use personally to keep yourself, in the terminology we'd use in the blue heads, to keep yourself calm and operational?
Yeah. From a few of the early high pressure moments, someone shooting at me, or I think, there's a bomb just in front of me on the track I'm walking down. I think in the really early times, you do catch yourself in that pause where you're not sure how long you've been in it. It might have been it might have been 1 second, but bullets start flying around, and in your own mind, you're like, wow, holy cow. And what do I do? Like, I found I had this thought, what do I do? And it's almost like this pause. You got to get yourself out of that. You got to start the doing. I think still to this day, one of the best ones is breathe. That a lot of people will agree with. It's in that high threat situation, it's harder to do than you think. Jumping out of a plane the first time and then you realise you're not breathing, it's not good. Things like
Scary,
that,
man.
like you have that pause. But yeah, I mean, again, the action's on, or hopefully if you've thought about what can go wrong and then it does go wrong, you'll get out of that pause quicker. If you can remember to breathe, that's going to help you make decisions better. They're probably a couple of good ones again. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Just that breathe, regulate yourself, start to get that nervous system under control. And then what's the next positive action that I can take and take some action, get moving.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that. How about hardship? So you've faced a lot of hardship in your time. What's hardship taught you that being comfortable never would have been able to?
I think one of my big takeaways from hardship is one of the best things you can do is reflect on it. You just can't go through something really difficult and just at the end of it go, gee, that was hard, and move on to the next thing. A lot of the trauma that I saw in the military and a lot of the hardship that I got through, I kind of didn't really have a playbook to work it out. I don't think, or I didn't think I had one. I was now gotten out of the army, moved on to other things, and it was more just myself going to myself, well, I've got these hardships. How can I learn from them? Well, I'll do what the military taught me, because the military taught me to hot wash and debrief and evaluate an operation so that I can go through my sustains, improves and fixes. How can I make myself a better human from having faced and gotten through this hardship? That led me down a bit of a path at the time. This was a few years ago now, after I'd just gotten out, to think to myself, do everyday civvies do this? And they do. There's an academic theory of experiential learning,
Mm.
but it is just that loop of doing hard stuff, understanding what you've done. So trying to get your understanding of the hardship as close to reality as you can, then evaluating. If you were faced with the same problem, how would you perform better? What would you do the same? What would you do different and improve? And then just go and get more hard experiences, putting yourself back in those environments and do a better job when you're in them. I found that hugely beneficial when I got into a bit of adventure guiding and I was hiking mountains in Tassie. And you'd go out on a hike, it might be 2 nights, 3 days, climb one of Tassie's really cool mountains, beautiful views, clean air. And in winter, I loved it. So you're always in this challenging cold environment. And Tassie doesn't have altitude like a lot of other places in the world. So the cold and snow is always wet. And so it's really dangerous in that aspect that it's hard to stay dry and it's hard to avoid that hypothermic sort of state. But I'd go out on these really difficult winter hikes, either by myself or with clients, and come back and evaluate them. Yeah, I need to carry an extra thermal. Yeah, I need to get a better tent. Yeah, I need to learn these skills to keep myself dry. And so it's that evaluation process. It's one of the best things that you can do.
Yeah, I agree. And
Keeping a positive mindset.
yeah, totally agree. We see that it's a real common theme with all of these people we're talking with that are operating at the highest level or who have been at the highest level. At the end of any iteration or whatever you want to call it, they're very intentional with sitting down and being like, okay, what went well? So acknowledging, hey, man, I actually did X, Y, and Z really, really well. And that consolidates it for next time. And then being like, okay, cool. If I could do that again, what are the things that didn't go so well? And how do we go about improving some of those? And they're very intentional with doing that. And then taking the one or two controllables and carrying that forward into the next iteration. Like, you're dead
Yep.
right. Companies or whatever that just go through the cycle of deliver, 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 deliver. There's no recovery. There's no reflection or learnings to identify or implement. Yeah, you're never going to get any better. You're always just going to stay at a certain level. You'll plateau, basically.
Oh, and as the environment that you operate in changes, I mean, you might have done really great evaluation before you started business to go into that environment. And so on day one, you might be operating at the best you're going to ever operate. If you do no reflection or evaluation as time passes and the environment changes, I mean, new players come into it, things just change, you're going to slowly go downhill.
Yeah, you get
Absolutely.
blown away.
Another thing that fits well here, whether you're talking about hardship, is the way I suppose I look at experience as well, is that I look at experience as positive or negative experience as opposed to failure or good experience, bad experience. To me, most experience is good because I can always learn something from it. I think personally, I have the theory, I suppose, that the difference between a positive and a negative experience is am I a better person at the end of it? And so taking that theory into my life, getting blown up was a positive experience because
You're going to have to
when
talk to
I
us
weigh
about
up,
that, mate.
when I weigh up all the pros and cons, there were lots of bad shit that happened in it. I got injured. I mean, I'll carry injuries for the rest of my life from that mistake. And even worse than that to me is I got my teammates injured. So that's bad. The bad guy who I was watching in that very moment, well, he got away because I got blown up. And so there's all these bad things that come from it.
Yeah.
But when I think about everything I learnt from it and how I improved, maybe not physically, but mentally, I think I got more out of it than I lost. And so to me, it's a positive experience. I mean, we were fortunate that no one got killed. And so that might have been a catalyst to it being a negative experience, even though I got positive things out of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
But it's just something that I think about when it comes to all experiences, whether they're in the military or whether they're business or adventure travel or whatever.
On reflection, what was the biggest positive? Can you boil it down to the biggest takeaway that you took as a positive from that experience?
The wisdom that I took from it in regards to the understanding of a positive mindset. Like I wouldn't understate the value. I mean, but it's one of those things too. There's a lot of stuff in life that you have to do to understand. It's super difficult to sit here now and go, oh, here's all the things I've learned
Yeah.
about having a positive mindset and how to get a positive mindset. And there's lots of books on it, but it's actually until you are faced with a circumstance where you can have a positive mindset or you can have, a negative opinion of that experience, that's where you'll start to understand it, I suppose, a
Yeah.
lot better.
That was our motto. I worked in the SEER world, for those that don't know, SEER, survival, evasion, resistance, and escape, in a previous life. And
Yep.
that was the motto of our unit,
Yeah,
was
right.
knowledge born through experience, because you're 100% right. Like,
Oh, yeah.
when we're all sitting there with a nice warm cup of coffee in the classroom, we can all talk a good game. But when we go out there and it's freezing cold and you're hungry and it's miserable, and you start going through that thought process of, why am I here? I don't need to be doing this. I wish I was at home with a burger on the couch. Like, that's when you have to make a choice, around, okay, am I going to carry on this pity party, or am I going to suck it up and choose better, more constructive thinking? And that's where the
Yeah.
learning comes, when you're in it and having to make those conscious choices.
And when you're in it, the best choice that you can probably make, if you're in a moment and there's nothing good about it, it's totally negative, and you sit there and go, well, what can I get out of it?
Yeah.
From this point forward, what can I change now? What can I take charge of to improve myself at the end of when the end might come? I mean, that's starting to get pretty deep. I talk a bit about expensive knowledge and the way I define that. And it's not my term; I got it from somewhere else. But
Like,
it is that knowledge that you can't get from a book or a mentor or a classroom. You need to go and live it. We probably have similar understanding of that. I've done a few survival courses in the Australian military as well, both the Air Force one and the SAS one.
yeah,
And so,
I did ComServe in Townsville as well. Spent a month
oh
over
yeah,
there with the snakes and the crocs. Great fun.
I did that one. I think 95 or 96 it was. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good
But
course.
yeah, I mean, it's a great term, expensive knowledge. I mean, you can't buy it. You got to go and live it. You got to put up with the hardship.
Mm,
You got to accept the risk so that you can get the lessons at the end of it. Mm.
yeah, totally. Biggest leadership lesson that stuck with you, Mark? You know, you've operated at the highest level for a long time. What's one of the biggest leadership lessons that stuck with you throughout that?
Uh, Maybe honesty. Yep. And building the trust of the people in your team, having their best intentions at heart, even
Mm,
though having their best intentions whilst accepting the gravity of the mission that you've all bought into, I suppose. But yeah, building their trust, being honest. I mean, there's the whole swag behind that. You need to be competent at your job, at the thing you're leading them into, and all that. But doing, yeah, I think a big one as well for me is doing, you know, being willing to do what you were telling other people to do as well. I found that was big in the military.
mm. So were you talking around like competence? As obviously that's a huge part of trust because if you're shit, no one's going to trust you anyway.
Yeah,
You can
yeah,
say all the right
100%.
stuff, but it doesn't matter. But are you talking about making sure that you were walking the talk, so role modeling the stuff that you were asking of your guys? Is that what you mean there?
Yeah, well, I mean, absolutely. And I think for me, that comes back to when I joined the military in the early 90s. A lot of the sergeants and warrant officers and even the RSM that I had at the battalion at the time, they were hard men, but they backed it up too. Like when they told you to get out and you had to run a 5 clicker in this time, they did it too. Like
Mm.
they weren't telling you to do it from an office. But that is just being, competent. And if you want to achieve the mission at the end of the day, you're going to need to be competent. But yeah, it's all part of that building trust. No one's going to follow someone they don't trust.
I like that a lot, eh? What's good for the goose is good for the gander. And I've heard a few guys that I respect and ladies, words to the same effect around don't talk about it, be about it. So the talk's cheap piece. It's get out there and do the thing and demonstrate through your actions. So that's rare too. Like there's actually not that many people that get down like that.
I suppose this is personal, but some of the moments in my life I'm the most proud of in my own actions was when I didn't have to be instinctive and I had enough time. I had a split second to just pause and go, that is a really shit job. I won't order one of the guys in my team to do it. I'll tell them to come with me and I'll lead the way. I mean, I spent a lot of time in that military context as a scout, so I was comfortable being at the front. And fortunately, I didn't serve on the Western Front in 1915 or
Wow.
1916. But I felt that I was able to go, hey guys, back me up, come with me, cover me, and I'll go and do this thing that's pretty shit because I don't, I feel like as the leader, that I suppose to explain a bit as well, I'm a frontline leader. I think where my expertise really lie is as a frontline leader, the operational people at the coalface, and that's hugely important there. One of my jobs that I had post military when I had first gotten out was the security manager at the Australian Embassy in Kabul,
Mm,
and at its at its height for a little while that I was there in that role, there was about 250 people working there that I was managing. It gets hard in that bigger environment to
big team. Yeah.
to demonstrate, that you're willing to do. But it comes back to a lot of those the little things, the one percenters that the military teach. If you're the team leader and you're expecting everyone to polish their boots and shave in the morning, well, you don't turn up with dirty boots unshaven. Like it's as simple as that in some context.
Yeah, we used to call it social role modeling. I was the chief instructor at our recruit school for the New Zealand Air Force, and that was a big thing with our staff. I was always talking to them about you can't go and pull a troop up for being late if you're turning up late to timings, or you
Yeah,
can't pull a troop up for your uniform if yours looks like shit. Like, you'll just lose your credibility. And more than that, you'll lose all of our credibility just in an instant. And it takes so long to build that, and you can lose it in a second. So, yeah, that social role modeling or walking the talk is critical, I think, in anything that you do.
absolutely.
And maybe it's a threat thing, and it probably is, but that's all that me and Rich try to do as business partner is just try not to be a hypocrite today. Or if you are going to be a hypocrite, just try to be the smallest hypocrite that you can, because I think in some way, shape, or form, as humans, we're all hypocrites. But the challenge is not being too big a hypocrite, I think.
Yeah. Oh, and like the late one's a really good one. If, I'm late on Monday and then on Friday, I'm chastising everyone for being late. I
Yeah.
can't not acknowledge the Monday. And in that instance, well, maybe it might be along the lines of, hey, I was late Monday, you're late today. As an organisation, we can do better than that.
Mm.
I'm not telling you off, I'm telling us off. So I'm trying to set the standards, and I don't think any of us are meeting them now. There's places where that sort of situation might be necessary, I
Yeah,
suppose.
yeah. And there's a lot of power in that us and we language, eh? It's not a you thing, it's an us thing and a we thing, because that reinforces and reminds them that your actions or lack of actions are bigger than just you. It impacts all of us. So I really
Yeah,
like that us and we language, eh? That's great. What's the message, man? This is somebody sitting here listening to this. They're like, do you know what? I want to push the needle. I want to lift my game. I want to do better than I am now, whatever that looks like. What's your message to them?
go out and do. I mean, yeah, I've mentioned a little bit already. Theory is super important. It builds, knowledge and competency, whether it's from a book or a mentor or a classroom, but you got to get out and do, because that's where the real learning will come from. And probably through experience as well, will lead you to find the things that you're a bit more passionate about and you find a bit more purpose in, and it might direct you to change your focus and your priorities as you go along. But you got to go and do. You got to, pick that thing that's going to, stretch your thinking and your capability a little bit, and go and give it a crack. Over the years I've gotten out of the military, I've loved travel and adventure and hiking and things like that. So I love picking a place that is culturally really foreign to me, going and learning about those people, and like just that experience. Travel's a great one because you can all those core skills, a lot of them, accepting risk and adaptability and all that. Travel can teach you a lot of those, but you don't get as much of it going from Australia to New Zealand. We've got a lot of cultural similarities. We've got to go from Australia to New Zealand to Eastern Europe, or, you know, Central Asia or something like that. Like, go to some country that's got really different culture, and reflecting on the experience, whatever it is, whether it's starting a new business or I'm going to run a marathon, or whatever goal you're going to set, evaluating as you're going along, you're going to learn, you're going to develop personally.
Nice. Yeah, I like that. It's a great place to finish. Where can people find you, Mark, if they want to find out a little bit more about Mark Direen or what you're up to? Where can they find you?
I'm enjoying writing now too, and I still love my photography. So I'm all over social media. Just look up Mark Direen on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or whatever.
Awesome. Cool, man. Hey, we've loved the chat, and thanks heaps for your time. Really appreciate it.
Oh, it's been awesome, man. Good questions too. Like, they've actually had me thinking. You've had me thinking right through this. It's been good.
We do our best, man, and we're still pretty raw, but we're getting better. Like you say, just take action, right? Fucking, we'll get there eventually.
Yeah, we'll make mistakes, but that's okay too.
No. Cool, man. And hey, guys, that's the end of the chat. But if you've liked it, then you can check us out at www.aegisleadership.co.nz, or you can find us on LinkedIn and on Facebook. And thanks very much again to our mates at Dark Horse Coffee. We appreciate your support. That's all. Catch you guys later.